So there we go, the 10 best practices for implementing ITIL, or at least the 10 best practices that I have found in my last 15 odd years of working within the ITIL industry or IT service management industry and implementing ITIL processes in the entire framework. There's some things in there that you sort of go like, oh, seriously, this is so easy. This is such common knowledge. It's not. And it doesn't matter, and it doesn't hurt to really think about what is common knowledge, what is normal, what is not normal, and just go back to basics. It doesn't hurt to sort of stop and think about the things that work and don't work. So let's get into it. What I found over the years is a lot of people get lost in the woods, and although, you know, there's a bear picnic and all that sort of stuff, it's kind of funny. Don't get lost. Don't get lost in the details. Don't get sucked in the vortex of all the processes, all the details. You'll get to a point where you're so frustrated because you don't see the forest for the trees anymore. So keep a pathway so you know why you're implementing ITIL service management. Keep a pathway so you know where you're going and you don't get lost. And you know, maybe you do need to leave a trail that's auditable so you can find your way back if necessary. So hopefully these 10 best practices will help you to achieve that, to not get lost in the woods. So the basics, the ITIL framework. The ITIL framework is basically a set of books. It's a framework with guidance on how to manage your IT services. It's guidance on setting your IT service strategy, creating an organization, designing an environment and services on how to deliver consistent IT services. ITIL framework is not a standard. It is not to be read verbatim and implemented verbatim. It's a set of guidelines, it's processes, procedures. It is open for interpretation within your specific organization. It's open for interpretation within your specific goals and targets. Never forget that. Because ultimately, this is what it is. It's a set of 5 books. The books are written by IT professionals, so it's not a theory only, pie in the sky kind of, you know, not linked to anything in the practical world. It's written by IT professionals who've been working in the IT industry for years and years and years and have seen the IT industry change. 5 books with guidelines, guidances, processes, procedures, functions. It's so simple, yet so difficult, because not all these books are consistent. They may say something in one book and something slightly different in another, which is not a bad thing, because remember, it needs to be adapted to your organization, and that's the main reason why you shouldn't take it verbatim, because the moment you start taking this as gospel, you're gone, you're lost, you'll get so frustrated and you get really, really confused. So read the books, go through the materials, but keep in mind that these are guidelines. These are best practices, good practices over the years. This works in IT organizations. Doesn't necessarily have to work specifically for your organization in this particular way. However, it works in 99.9% of the other IT organizations out there. So have an open mind when you read the books, but don't try to do it all like 100% according to the gospel of ITIL. So what's in those books? As I said, there's 5 books. The first one is service strategy. So service strategy really sort of paints the picture of where we as an IT organization want to be. It paints a picture of how to support the business, the organization. What can we do? What do we have at our disposal to manage, design, deliver, maintain IT services? So then the next book, Service Design, is all about what does that design look like? What does the design of an IT service look like? What are the products, be it hardware or software, that are required to deliver those IT services? What is the environment? What kind of skill sets do we need? How do we ensure that there's a consistency and continuity in the delivery? Then we have service transition, where you have your change management going into production, your release and deployment, all that sort of stuff. This is where there's a heavy focus and a strong focus on knowledge management and capturing all the information we learn about the products and services that we create, we design, we deliver. And then in service operation, that's where the rubber hits the road. This is where the IT services are in operation, and it's up to us in the IT group to support the business. It's up to us to continue to support the operations. So this is where functions like the service desk and IT operations come into play. And then last but definitely not least, continual service improvement. So this is your QA, this is your quality control component of the framework. So this is all about setting KPIs, setting measurements, setting the right level of reporting structures within your organization to ensure that you can continue to do what you promised. Again, it seems so simple, yet it's very difficult to implement correctly. Because ultimately, what we have identified in the last years and years and years is that as an IT group, all we need to do is deliver value. And when you deliver services to an external client, that seems quite normal. But when you deliver services to an internal client, that may be a little bit tricky. How do you determine what value is? So within the ITIL framework, it talks about utility and warranty. And there's ways to achieve your utility, is it fit for purpose? And there's ways to achieve your warranty statement, so is it fit for use? And you need both. You can't have either or, you need both. The service you provide to your customers have to be fit for purpose and fit for use in order to provide value. So this is where the ITIL framework is really strong. It's really strong in providing you and offering you all sorts of processes and procedures to help you deliver that value. So it starts with the service strategy book. So there's processes within the service strategy book that help you achieve that. So it's all about setting the strategy. Then service design, as you can see, it's all about the coordination, service catalog, service levels, all that sort of stuff. Then transitioning it into operations. This is where we start supporting it, and then continual service improvement has your 7-step improvement process. Remember what I said about getting lost in the woods? Well, this is what I mean. You know, there's 26, 27 processes in there, and we haven't even spoken about procedures and underlying work instructions. If you look at this, just look at the slide, and it has to be overwhelming. So where do you start? Where do you start with your implementation of this monster of a framework? It's massive. So there's two ways to do it. I mean, there's multiple ways to do it, but most organizations seem to go either of these two ways. First, some organizations start at the service side. So you start with implementing service level management, which then flows into service catalog management, etc., etc. The other group of organizations start at the service operation side. So implementing incident management, request fulfillment, with a service desk function, for instance. So either way is fine. It really doesn't matter where you start, as long as it fits in with your short, medium and long-term goals. And it could be that you have to start at service level management. It could be that you want to start in service operation. It's up to you. But you have to make a choice. You can't do everything. So do you start at operational support, or do you start at your service descriptions? From my experience, a lot of organizations struggle with service descriptions. They struggle with describing what the service is, what it does, what the benefits are, features, feasibilities, all that sort of stuff. A lot of organizations find that difficult. But if you are an organization that has very clearly defined IT services, that may be the way to go. That may be your easier choice rather than going into operational support. So now for the meaty bit, let's go into the best practices. I found 10. Well, there's a lot more, but I thought I'd just cap it at 10. And number one, of course, you have to be educated. That is the number one best practice. The amount of times that I see people trying to struggle through an implementation as humongous as an ITIL service management implementation without having formal education on it, it's scary. It's really scary. And even just doing an ITIL foundation course is not enough. You need to know your strengths and weaknesses. You need to know how this framework fits in with your organization. You need to be able to play with the materials. You need to have a good, solid understanding of the framework in order to be able to make choices whether or not you want to adopt or adapt certain parts of the framework. So education obviously is very important, which leads me to point number 2. Do you really need consultants? Sometimes, not often, the knowledge and the education is already in-house. You may not know what treasures you have working for you in the organization. If you don't have expertise, experience, knowledge, that skill set within your current staffing levels, you may want to look at consultants, or you may want to look at consultants for that sort of outside look. Strange people looking into your organization have a bit more weight and usually a bit more respect. Don't use consultants, and this is from experience, please don't use consultants as an excuse not to have to do the work yourself. When you hire consultants in the true sense of the word, as an advisory function. Get consultants who have multi-years experience and the education to back them up, to give you advice on how to move forward. But the grunt work, the implementation work, the writing procedures, all that sort of stuff, please do that with your internal staff, because these are the people that have to own the processes. These are the people that have to work within those guidelines, within those processes and procedures. And if it is a process or a procedure that's written by somebody else from outside of the organization, I can guarantee you will not get the buy-in that you need. So have a really good think about, do we need consultants, and if so, why do we need them, what do we need them for, and what do we want them to do? What does success look like? That's a number 3, and I put it fairly high up in the ranking, because implementing ITIL service management, why do we do that? Usually we do it because we want to deliver value to our customers. But if we don't talk to our customers, if we don't need, or rather than talk with our customers, if we don't know what the business needs, if we don't know what our customers need or think they need, how can we determine what success is? So have a really, really good chat on a regular basis with your customer to determine what the ideal organization looks like and how IT can help the organization achieve that, and how ITIL service management can help the IT organization achieve the bigger picture. And that brings me to this lovely picture of our holiday in Fiji from a few years ago, which I thought was quite appropriate. Because a lot of organizations, this is the IT group. And when you talk to IT groups about implementing ITIL or ITIL service management, this is sort of like the picture they paint. Like, oh, we're on our own, we just do our thing, it's just another technical project, implementation. We know how to do project management, we just do da 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 da, done. Big mistake. Don't do that. And this is, again, from experience, because I have been in scenarios where this happened, and those are the projects that usually either fail or they do succeed, but at a cost of people, finances, etc. So when you implement ITIL service management, you're basically talking about organizational change management. So make sure you have the full support of your HR group. Make sure you have the full support of your sales and executive management. so that they know what you're doing and why you're doing it, that you're doing it to support the business better, to provide that value to the business. You're not alone, you're not an island. So make sure you work with the other groups in the organization to create this wave of change in your company. And that brings me to number 5. What gets measured gets done. You know, we all have great and grander ideas on our personal targets and our business targets and our career targets, but if you don't write it down, if you don't talk to it about with other people, there's no accountability. So if it gets measured, when it gets measured, it gets done. So make sure you know why you want to implement ITIL service management. Understand the critical numbers, understand what is important to do when, so that you can have those measurements, you can have those controls, which is basically your definition of management. You know, management is all about measuring and control. So make sure you understand what it is that you need to change so you can measure the results. And that helps you to be thrifty, and not just thrifty financially. Just like with your people, remember how we talked about the consultants, that you probably already have a lot of your skills in-house. That's the same with your processes and procedures. The fact that they don't have an ITIL stamp of approval, which doesn't even exist anyway, doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that your current processes and procedures are bad. So be thrifty. Reuse the processes you currently have. Recycle what you've been using in the past. Have a good look at what works and what doesn't work. So reduce the amount of assets and resources you need to implement your ITIL service management framework. So have a good look. What are the processes that make our customers happy? What are the activities that we do that actually work and that we can do on a consistent level? Then start with a small pilot. So start small. You'll run into unexpected events. You'll run into unexpected issues. So make sure you do it on a small scale, either with a non-critical service or for one client group. But make sure you cut your teeth on something that doesn't have a major disastrous impact to the business. And then once you understand how it all works, once you understand what the do's and don'ts are, that's when you can roll it out on a larger scale. And that brings me to automation. We're talking about guaranteed service performance. We're talking about the fact that customers want consistency. So without really going overboard with tools and software and all that sort of stuff, do have a look at your current processes, do have a look at the tasks and the activities that you do, and have a good look at what can be automated. I mean, it's probably a cost saving in there as well, but more so it's an improvement in the consistency of your service delivery. And that is something that your customers will notice. And you probably already have a good understanding of the fact that implementing ITIL in an organization doesn't happen overnight. So don't rush it. I always used to say, and I still stand with that statement, is writing a couple of processes you can do on a Friday afternoon with a bottle of wine and get really creative, and that's not the biggest thing. The biggest thing of implementing ITIL service management is the organizational change that is required. It will mean that you will need to get the buy-in from different groups of people. You will need to show people, you need to share the benefits that it will have for them, for their job, for their career opportunities, their career path in the organization. That takes time. So don't rush, don't try to rush it. Make sure you have that buy-in and that support. You can't push it through in a couple of weeks. Just doesn't happen. It will bite you in the end. And the last one, of course, things are going well. Celebrate. Set your targets. Have monthly, quarterly targets. Celebrate your successes. Make sure that everybody knows how amazing this ITIL framework is for them, for the organization. make sure everybody understands the difference that it has made. But also just take some time and think about, or do a post-mortem almost, of the things that didn't work or don't work or just seem to fail over and over again. Have a good honest look at what you're doing, why you're doing it, and why things are working or are not working. But don't just stand there and don't just think about all the stuff that is really difficult and just think about all the stuff that's really hard and doesn't work. No, take time to celebrate. I mean, we tend to sort of focus on all the improvements we need to make, and we tend to not spend enough time on celebrating our successes. So just have a party, have fun. Do a kick-off party to celebrate the fact that you're implementing this whole process. Have a halfway through, or have a milestone achievement party, or be creative. You can think of ways to celebrate the successes. So, how do you get started? Well, you know how I said number one is that you need to be educated. So, you've already set the first step. You're here at this webinar, so your first step is to listen to this sort of webinars, to start absorbing information about ITIL and ITIL implementation, so it doesn't stop there. So continue your certification. Make sure you understand the implications of ITIL. Make sure you fully comprehend the framework, the processes, etc. So I created a little bundle for you. So this is a bundle only for you guys. It's only for the webinar. So it's the ITIL 2011 SOA, that is the Service Offerings and Agreements e-learning course. So that's the course that belongs to service strategy. So it's really setting up the content, or the context rather, of ITIL service management. So it comes with its own textbook. As a bonus, there's 45 days extra access. There's the foundation course, and there's an ITIL readiness assessment, because I thought that would be really nice for you to sort of link in with that being thrifty. Like, what is the stuff that's already going really well, so we don't have to focus on that, so you can allocate your resources appropriately. So a package like this would normally cost $891. However, of course, because I said it's a bonus package and I put it for you for today for the webinar, the extra access, or the extended enrollment, I just throw in for free, as is the foundation e-learning. You get that completely free, and the readiness assessment. So altogether this package is not $891 but $395, and you'll see a button, a buy now button on your screen. So when you click that, you will get this package for $395, but you need to use the special code, and the special code is 10BEST, so that's BEST 2012-5. So the special code is 10BEST 2012-5. So when you click the link on the buy now button, and you when you're being asked to put in that special code, you will get this whole package for $395, which is a pretty cool saving. It's $446 in savings or something. And the reason why I do this is because education is important. The most successful ITIL implementation projects I have been part of are the ones where the entire crew has been trained. Everybody in the organization had their ITIL Foundation course or certificate, so everybody speaks the same language. Everybody understands what it is that we're doing and why we're doing it. Those are the best implementations, because they go efficient and they achieve the effect that you're supposed to achieve. So that's the reason why I put in this bonus offer for you. So you get your free ITIL Foundation, you get your SOA Intermediate e-learning course with your textbook, your extended enrollment, and your bonus ITIL Readiness Assessment Toolkit. And so all that for $395, that will kickstart your project. That will really set you in a really good position to start your ITIL implementation. So if you want to have a chat with me afterwards, feel free to email me. Check out a page on Facebook, so it's www.facebook.com/The Art of Service. We're on LinkedIn, and of course we have our online store. So thank you for this, and yeah, let's go into a Q&A, see if we have any people with questions, or there might be some stuff on the chat as well. So looking forward to connect with you at a future date or on one of our future webinars, and good luck with your ITIL implementation. Talk soon.